Monica. I will be co-teaching with Greta today for this yin practice. And today we decided we're going to focus on the thoracic spine. It is spine time week. So we are just kind of taking the month really to focus on what our spine is doing in these yin postures. It's this big, important structure that kind of controls our central nervous system. But often when we're doing yoga, we think, oh, my hips are tight, or oh, my shoulders are tight, or my neck is tight. So it's fun to kind of go into the practice thinking just about what that important spine is doing. And so today we are working on the thoracic spine. We did the cervical, the neck spine last week. But this week we're working on the thoracic spine, which is right in the middle of the back. It's 12 vertebrae, kind of starting at that notch that you could really feel at the top of your neck. It's like a big bony notch. That's the top of the thoracic spine, T1. And then it kind of ends right about where the ribs end, and then there's that fleshy spot in the back of your back, that fleshy stuff. That's kind of where the thoracic spine ends. So it's this big part of your spine filled with 12 vertebrae. And when I was thinking about this thoracic spine, and also thinking a little bit about the pain management of it. I mean, we often have like lumbar pain that's sometimes debilitating. We can't walk, or cervical neck pain that's causing us this headache. But with thoracic pain in between the shoulders, we often can kind of like put it aside and still get through our day, even though like our shoulders are tight or our mid back is tight. And just thinking about how we learned to kind of manage that. And then I kind of got into this study that actually researched thoracic spine pain and found that the highest population with thoracic spine pain is actually adolescents, because adolescents at a young age, they're sitting in classrooms, they're carrying backpacks, as we all did. And when they are asked about their bodies, they talk about pain in their mid back from their backpacks. So they talk about thoracic spine pain. And so from a young age, maybe we learn to adapt then. So that's just a fun thing on pain management. I'm going to share my screen, get some facts about the spine. All right. Okay, so this is our thoracic spine. It has 5 different kind of movements: flexion, extension, lateral flexion, rotation, and anatomical, so sitting neutral. Flexion is when we fold forward. Extension is when we do a back bend. Lateral flexion is to the side, bringing the shoulder closer to the hip, moving in that plane. And then rotation, of course, is a twist. Anatomical is neutral. What's so great about the thoracic spine is it is the backbone to our organs. So it has these beautiful ribs that protect everything from our lungs, our heart, our liver, our stomach, our intestines, and is designed to kind of cage that. In terms of movement, the thoracic spine was developed in humans so we could throw things and we could stand up straight on our 2 feet. Our lumbar vertebrae, on the other hand, help us with walking and balance, but it's the thoracic that gives us a posture. The poses that we are going to practice today: for flexion, we're doing a butterfly with a forward fold. Extension is going to be a melting heart. When we think about the chest opening and the thoracic spine going back. Lateral flexion is going to be with the half butterfly with the side stretch. Rotation, we have a seated spinal twist, and then anatomical position is, of course, Shavasana. I also wanted to talk about this really interesting piece that I found while studying the thoracic spine. Apparently there is a fifth movement called axial extension, which is the simultaneous reduction of the curves of the spine. And this is done because our spine has natural curves, right? Which I will actually go into a lot more next week. But our spine has natural curves. And to engage axial extension, we engage our three diaphragms, starting at the pelvic diaphragm, the respiratory, and the vocal. So when you think about taking this deep breath, you often think about kind of maybe doing a small tuck of the tail. You maybe feel your diaphragm lifting up on the exhale, allowing your head and neck to almost feel like it's being raised, like it's being pulled. Kind of opens up the chest, brings the shoulders back ever so slightly, you know, just taking in that deep breath from all of the diaphragms, which in yoga we know as the bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana, and Halandahara. Bandra. So we kind of engaged it through that way, but I just thought it was so crazy that there was another movement of the spine, that we can only achieve this movement by filling these diaphragms with breath, engaging them in almost a way that is so yin. There's something so yin about just engaging all three diaphragms to create this axial extension that I had no idea existed. So again, I'll show the poses we're going to do today for the spine, and I really want us to keep in mind in those poses just where our thoracic spine is in time and space, in that movement, and how it feels to be in that movement, in that posture. If it's loud, if it's soft, if it's sore, and if it's, you know, met its edge and can begin to relax. So yeah, that's the thoracic spine. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself and chime in later.
Cool, thank you, Veronica. So, Veronica, I totally pinned your video. I don't know if it's pinned it back, but that's okay. I'll remove pin. Here we go. Cool. Thank you for being here. And before we enter into our yin practice, I thought it'd be nice if we thought it'd be nice if we did 3 rounds of Om together. So finding a comfortable seat and taking a moment to feel the connection between you and the ground, feeling the elevation of your spine, the lengthening of the vertebrae, the 12 in the thoracic. And we talked about 7 in the cervical last week. Relaxing the shoulders. And we'll do 1 clearing breath. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale HA out of the mouth, release. It's time to prepare for Om. Inhale. Inhale, breathe in. And exhale, release the breath out, HA. And we are going to actually start class today in Sleeping Baby or Napping Infant. It also looks a lot like Spider-Man or Spider-Person crawling up a building. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that here. And then get into kind of the structure and breakdown of yin. So starting with the right knee bent. bringing the chest to the ground. And then I like to bring my left cheek to the mat, and we will alternate sides. So you can choose to do the opposite, just switching for the other side. And getting situated, you can add pillows under the chest, or maybe you want to add a pillow under the knee, always using props to assist and support. And in our yin practice, the first thing we do is we find our gentle edge. And I think this is actually a good pose to really come into and think about the word gentle and how that can be applied to an edge. In some poses, it's easy to kind of push up on your range of motion and your full depth into the pose, but we kind of want to pull that edge back because we want to be able to sustain the pose for time. So first we meet our gentle edge, then we practice stillness. And these are the 3 tattvas that are, or truths that are outlined by Bernie Clark, and I learned them through my teacher training as well. And stillness is a really powerful tool, and I think it's something that I used to shy away from, and now I'm like in love with. And in the stillness, if all of a sudden the mind gets super loud, or like there's like this itch on the back of your thigh, or just like something like that comes up, trying to use the breath as a tool, maybe give it a few breaths. And if it's still itching, absolutely go ahead and itch it. The only reason you would move in this practice is if you are invited to go deeper. And also is if you're experiencing pain. We never want anyone to experience any pain, any sharp sensations, stabbing sensations, not even any tingling. And then lastly, we hold for time. And I keep track of time on my phone. We give a halfway mark and a final minute. So when I'm like obsessively peeking down, it's because I'm checking the time, making sure we're on schedule. And I guess the only other things I'll say is when you are in these long holds, to try to generate and foster a sense of compassion and kindness. And with that, we can kind of talk about the qualities associated with the yin practice, which are going to be more reflective, and they're going to require a little bit more deep listening, nurturing and nourishing qualities. A little bit more of a mysterious element comes with the yin side, and trying to really embrace and allow all those experiences to permeate your being. I think everyone here has practiced yin a lot, so I'm definitely going to cut myself off there, but I will add that right now we are starting on the floor, and the bellies are touching the ground, and the ribs are touching the ground. And you have this opportunity right now to really feel the point of contact. You may be using a pillow or something, you may be laying on one, but to really use the point of contact between you and the ground, and to feel the ribs on the ground and notice what that feels like. And I know for myself, for a long time, I was pretty fixated anatomically on the front side of everything that was going on in my ribs. And that is what is facing down right now. But trying to spread your awareness also to the side ribs, and also the back of the body, because it's really a 3-dimensional space. And you can feel that even with your hands, just like a light touch, or notice it also with the breath, because the ribs move with the diaphragm and with the lungs. They have an upward and a downward tilt. And we're just about at our final minute mark here. And slowly begin to move the leg back towards center. And take your time moving. We don't want to rush. There is no sense of urgency here. Coming back to neutral and then switching to the other side, the left side. So this time bending the left knee, alternating cheek. And this side may feel totally different than it did on the other. Giving yourself permission to be different on both sides. Don't have to meet any expectation or any mold of what this is supposed to look like, because it's not supposed to really look like anything. And then finding the breath, noticing if the ribs feel any different on this side. And also noticing with such close proximity to the ground, it can be easier to connect to grounding sensations and to connect to the element of earth. And if you want to shut down the eyes, if that feels safe to you, sometimes it kind of opens up this opportunity to engage and be in relationship with the earth. And I can find that really helpful on certain days, because sometimes you have some stuff you need to offload, and the earth is very effective at transmuting and changing energy. So if there's some like negative shit you want to release into the energy or the earth, that is like an option. Or if you're like totally exhausted, it's also a great option to pull energy up from the earth, because there's such an excess down there. Maybe finding an equilibrium there. Hi, Gabby. Welcome. We are at our halfway mark. And I guess, Gabby, since you were just joining us, we are finishing up the left side of sleeping infant or napping baby, which Jonathan is demonstrating pretty nicely here. And this is the final minute. And we are approaching the last few moments here. So beginning to mentally prepare and determine how you will move back to center. And then go ahead and move the left leg back in to meet the right. Bring the head back to neutral. And we will slowly press ourselves up and come into a tabletop. If there's any natural movement you want to do, maybe flow through extension, which is cow, or flexion of the spine. I always think of my cat when I think of flexion. Any free movement that is going to serve you in this moment. And then letting the hips fall off towards one side and coming to a seat. And when Veronica and I were talking about the thoracic spine, I really feel like I think about my thoracic spine the most in twisting movements. And so we thought we would incorporate a fair amount of twisting into this class. And this is often a pose that is taught in a vinyasa setting, and it can be a yin pose. We'll be here for about 2 minutes. So starting, I guess I'll face this direction with the left leg out long and the right foot planted on the ground, and it can stay right here. You can also bring the right foot up and over the left leg, and then finding some length in your spine, and then bringing the left arm to the outside edge of the right side of your body, and then inviting a twisting movement into the body using the right hand like a kickstand. I am going to go ahead and set our timer. Since this is a little bit more of an active pose, we aren't going to be here for super long. But maybe shutting down the eyes, maybe you keep them open, but trying to feel into the sensation that's going on in the body, really feeling the twist in the ribs. The right ribs are moving back, the left ribs are moving a little bit forward. How it affects the neck. Are you moving the neck? And being gentle, trying to release tension. And then noticing how the pose evolves over time. We're already at the halfway mark here. You can even experiment with a little binding if that's interesting to you, just finding your depth. What is going to serve you most in this moment? And then before we unswivel and come back to center, I'm going to invite you to actually bring your hands onto your ribs. And as you twist back towards center, feel that sensation of them moving, and maybe go back just so you can trace that shape. Maybe you add even a little bit of a counter twist. And then release the right leg out long. Maybe you need to bounce the legs a little bit. And then switch the legs out, planting the left foot down. Maybe you bring the left leg over the right leg. And we'll do the other side, bringing the right arm onto the insides or to the outside seam of your left leg, planting the left palm like a kickstand, and twisting. And maybe pulling back your edge a little bit further than your range of motion. We still want this to be a yin class. Approach it with those kind of more passive energies, more of a yielding archetype. And suspending any elements of criticisms that come up, not comparing yourself from side to side. Oftentimes we are asymmetrical, And it's really a lot to do with how we've lived our lives. And we've had to compensate for the movements or the jobs that we've had. And so it's allowing those experiences to be, those patterns to be a part of your body. And this is the halfway point. Releasing tension in your jaw, and furrowing your brow, relaxing the necks, relaxing your glutes. And we're coming to the final moments here. So bringing the hands onto the ribs again, feeling the outside, the back, the front. Maybe if you had your fingertips forward, maybe you move them onto the back now, just noticing what that even feels like. And then swivel the torso back towards center. Maybe do a counter twist, swivel it. And then release the legs out long, let the arms come down. And I believe Veronica is leading us through the next part of class.
Yes. Awesome. So our next pose that we're going to do is let's make our way to our bellies. Pin myself. Please pin. Just go ahead and lower yourself down. We're going to go into a crocodile. So start by having your left arm out like a T, or your arms out like airplane wings. And in this posture, what we're going to do is we're going to roll, keeping our left arm straight. We're going to roll into a twist, opening up the side with the front pec muscle opening up. Kind of, there's a little bit of pressure on the ball of the humerus of your arm. So if that's pinchy or super sore in any way, go ahead and just back off a little. This is a yin class. We want to meet our edge. The top right leg can be anywhere from being down. I personally like to bring it out and around so it gives me more of this front stretch in the side of the body. But really the big stretch is going to be here in the shoulder blades. We're going to be here again. This is a little bit of a shorter hold. Only 2 minutes because this can be sometimes a little intense. Also kind of recognizing that this is also maybe a small twist of the spine. This is our halfway point. right. Begin to release the pose by slowly rolling back onto your belly, moving mindfully. And then finding your way back onto the belly to do the other side. So again, right hand or right arm extends out like a T, using the left hand to kind of push you and roll onto that side of the body, with your right ribs almost pressing into the ground, into the earth. I really enjoy the idea of that Greta had with feeling where our ribs are in space, and by feeling where our ribs are, we can feel where our spine is. Just embracing the nice shoulder opening that's going on. This side might be different because no two sides are the same. And just leaning into that. We're here for another minute and 30 seconds. All right. Moving out of the posture, roll yourself back onto your belly, flipping the legs over, kind of recentering onto your mat. Maybe pushing up into a light cobra to get some compression of the lower back, or any movement that feels good. Maybe going back into a child's pose for a quick second. We're gonna come to a seat when the movement that feels necessary is done. And we're gonna go into a seated half butterfly with a side stretch. So I'm gonna start with my left leg out first, bringing my right leg in, my foot kind of touching my inner thigh right here. If you need support under this right leg, put maybe a block underneath the knee. If you need support underneath the left leg, maybe a block underneath that knee to take off some slack from the hamstring. And with this pose, I'm going to actually offer a side stretch. So this is a kind of a big opening of the shoulder girdle as well, but it gives you that opening also of the ribs. If this is too intense and there's feeling any pinching, especially if there's pinching in your neck area right on either side, simply go ahead and just fold over the leg and see if that will relieve any of the tension. I'm going to take us into that side stretch for those who are there, and I'm starting the timer. Not leaning in too far, making sure that both kind of hips stay touching the earth. They're not lifting up too much. You can maybe tilt your head up to look at the ceiling, or relax the head down and just kind of letting it hang. Sending air into that side body, into the back body, into the shoulder blades. We are at our halfway point. If you want to make any readjustments, now's the time. In my case, my cat needs attention. Taking a big breath in. Almost done with this pose, but taking a big breath in, maybe into the bottom rib. See if you can feel that. See if you can feel the diaphragm expand through each little muscle between the ribs. And go ahead and come back up, letting the right hand lead the way to center. Now we're going to bring our legs together into a butterfly forward fold. So, excuse me. She wants to do yoga too. Bringing our feet together to meet. They can be either in, but this is also a yin class, so if your diamond needs to be a little bit wider on your mat, all the way out here, that works too. If you need blocks underneath the knees for that support, do that. If you need something over your chest to lay on, right, rest your chest on, whether it be a pillow or a bolster. I'll start our timer. This is our big flexion moment of the class. So kind of leaning into that curve of the thoracic spine, our very natural curve. Maybe fleshing out a little bit of the butt from underneath to get a little more of a pelvic tilt, or place low right below the sacrum to really tilt the pelvis forward and get more of that lower spine in there. This is our halfway point. This is our final minute. Moving slowly, and then press yourself back up. Maybe feeling each little vertebrae slowly roll themselves back up to a neutral spine. Taking a breath in to lift the head, maybe roll the shoulders back. Maybe give the neck a little release by giving it some rolls. We're gonna move to half butterfly on the other side. So right leg comes out. Again, this at each side is different. So this right leg might come at a different angle, and where you place your foot might come at a different angle too. But generally, you want to have your left foot kind of pressed up to your right inner thigh, your adductor. And again, I'm going to offer the side lateral stretch. But if it's too pinchy or you're feeling something uncomfortable, you can go into a fold over the leg. With the lateral stretch, you bring your left arm up, maybe starting by a little pull towards the ceiling, and then kind of letting it fall. So we're again in yin and we've reached our edge. Breathing into the side rib. I know in this pose my heart rate tends to speed up. I'm not sure why. Maybe I think the side bend is just a little more intense. Maybe my tight shoulders or that tight spot kind of underneath the scapula that's a little bit naggy, the subscapularis. I think that's why my heart rate kind of speeds up, but it's nice to notice that and see in what I can do in terms of my breathing to slow the heart rate down and find some sort of comfort inside of this pose. Coming up on our halfway point here. Slowly pushing ourselves back up, maybe pulling from the left arm back up to center, releasing that arm, shaking out the shoulders, maybe twisting to the other side. And we have actually doing good on time, so I'm going to take us into a child's pose next. Just go ahead into Balasana. Toes touch, or maybe today it feels good to have knees together instead of knees wide for a soft rounding. Child's pose is as just a small, ever so light flexion of the spine and opening of the hips. Oh, some days child's pose is very, very loud, so being mindful of that. If there's any pinching in the upper thighs, kind of right where the hip crease is, maybe experiment with bringing the knees closer together, or even experimenting if the shoulders have had enough from that long side bend, bringing the shoulders and the arms to the sides of the body. It's the last 30 seconds. Slowly pressing ourselves back up. Coming into a tabletop. Finding our ground once again on all fours. Shifting the weight maybe from the fingers to the knees. And we're going to go into melting heart. So this is our extension of the class, our big spinal extension. So I like to walk my hands forward and simply drop my chest to the floor. If you want to place some pillows underneath your chest, that's also helpful. Or if you're experiencing some knee problems and maybe want to put some pillows underneath your knees to pad it for this big chest opener, that's a smart idea as well.
And then I just wanted to talk, since we're in melting heart, which is sometimes also called Anahata Asana. It's also sometimes called puppy dog. But Anahata is the heart chakra. And the heart chakra would also be the chakra that is closest to the thoracic spine. And I know not everyone associates colors with their chakras, but the color green for me really resonates, especially for the heart. And the heart chakra actually extends all the way down your arms and goes down out of the pads of your fingers. That's all associated with the heart. And the heart can be the center of love. It can be the center of relationship. And it's also the bridge between the other chakras. So below we have kind of more desire and a sense of earth and grounding and willpower. And then above the heart, there is the throat, Vishuddha, which is almost, it kind of speaks and it communicates. And then Anya's third eye, and then there's Sahasrara. And these are kind of the more ethereal, sometimes relying more on intuition, and definitely the most subtle. And Anahata bridges all 7 of the main chakras. And sometimes I think feeling into the heart, it can feel like, I feel like I've been seeing a lot, I don't know if it's a trending word, but like a heart swell feeling. But I also think that the heart can be like a place that carries a lot of heaviness. And if there is any of that there, like knowing that with that like depth that comes with the heart, like giving it space. And if you give it space, notice what other experiences are going on as well. It's just like one of the occupants of the room of the emotions in your body.
Awesome. Slowly begin to press yourself back up, out of melting heart. Either coming to a tabletop or simply maybe sitting back onto your heels. Experiencing the spine again in neutral. And come to lying on our backs, where Greta's gonna come back on and take us home.
All right, awesome. They totally updated Zoom, so you have to pin and unpin your video. So it's fun. Okay, so coming to lay on the back. And I'm not going to worry. I think it's on Veronica. Cool. So coming to lay on your back and sending the left leg out long and hugging the right knee in towards your chest. And relax your ankle down. You may even want to take some oscillations with the ankle, moving clockwise and counterclockwise. I definitely have some cracks and pops in my ankle. And feeling the compression of the knee heading towards your shoulder. And then with the left arm, guiding the right leg towards the left side of your body. Right arm extends out like half of a T. Gaze can be up. Gaze can be towards your right fingertips. And we're going to be in this twist for a generous portion of time. So really getting yourself set up. You may even want to scooch a little bit on your back so the shoulder blades are more grounded. You may want to put some support under the right knee. So really coming into an edge that you're going to feel sustained and supported. And noticing here too the twist and the rotation that's going on in the thoracic spine. And remembering to release tension too. A lot of us hold habitual tension without even realizing it. So scanning the body and seeing if there's anywhere you can let go. Maybe it's your forehead, maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's your toes, maybe it's your glutes. But letting that energy find a state of ease in your body. And if the mind becomes restless or is really wandering a lot, trying to redirect it into the cavern we've been focusing on through this class, feeling your lungs there, your heart, the spine. And this is the halfway mark. And this is the final minute. Noticing if there's any little adjustments you need to make. And also noticing how relaxed the body may become after 4 minutes, especially if you're not used to holding a twist for as long. And if your gaze is peeking over your right shoulder, slowly begin to direct your face back towards center. And bring the right knee back towards center. Bring both glutes onto the mat. And hug the right knee in towards the chest again. You may also want to take some counter movements. I'm craving just embracing the top of my shins, getting some flexion in the spine. You may be craving something else, always following the wisdom that resides in your body when those messages come up. And then we will begin to transition to the other side. So this time, extend your right leg out long. Hug the left knee in towards your chest. Left knee heading towards the left armpit. You can take the oscillations with the ankle, right to left, left to right. And those cracks and pops are actually the release of fixation, which I can talk about actually for a sec after we get ourselves set up. And then with the right arm guiding the left leg towards the right. Left arm goes out like half of a T. Gaze can be up. Gaze can be towards the fingertips. But coming into that gentle supine twist. I'm going to set the timer. And one of the benefits of yin is actually the release of fixation. And you can think of fixation as bones kind of just temporarily being stuck together. You can kind of imagine it like a frothy beer mug, and then you lift that up and the coaster goes with it. And then when it releases, the coaster falls down. That's kind of the release of fixation. And over time, if the bones don't release, that can actually create fusion of the bones together. yeah, that's fixation. We're also preventing shrink wrapping of our muscles. There's so many benefits energetically, but also in terms of what's going on in our bodies, physiology. This is the halfway point. And directing your attention back to the body and using that awareness to anchor your practice, this little meditation, the last few moments, a few minutes. And we are at our final minute marker. And if your gaze is directed towards your fingertips, you can go ahead and move the neck back towards center. And then slowly begin to bring the knees back through center. And take any last organic natural movement that your body is asking for before we release into Shavasana, final rest. Maybe in Apanasana, you may want to grab your shins like a cannonball. And then releasing into Shavasana, final rest, letting the limbs come down. And you can always take final rest in different positions. So finding what is going to suit you most in this moment. And I will guide you up when it's time to come up and out. We'll be here for a moment. And we had a lot of time to think about the spine and the rib cage. And now that we're laying on our backs, noticing how that experience feels, feeling the weight of your torso collaborating with the force of gravity. What it feels like to be held by the ground, by the earth, coming into collaboration with those experiences. And slowly begin to invite movement back into your body. Be really micro, really tiny. And then let the movements grow bigger. And bring the arms above your head like you would, stretching. Bring the knees in towards your chest. And you can choose if you'd like to roll over onto the left side or the right side. The left side is more associated with yin and the lunar aspects. And it's the end of the evening, so I would recommend going that direction, but you are welcome to do whatever you want. And then coming into a fetal position, resting the cheeks on your bicep, and first and foremost, extending gratitude to yourself for practicing yin and for practicing regeneration and nourishment and yielding and all these qualities associated with the practice, doing something really good. I always think of yin as a really great practice for future self. It's like a gift from present day self, and honoring the lineage of the yoga practice, going back to its roots in India and those wisdom texts and that long lineage of teachers. But also yin is very much from Taoist theory and meridian theory and Chinese medicine. So honoring that lineage as well, honoring the ancestors of this land. I occupy Coast Salish territory, the Duwamish people, honoring the people alive today, carrying those traditions forward, and also their ancestors. And Veronica comes to us from the East Coast in Brooklyn, so also honoring the Lapade and the Canarsie and the Rockaway people as well. And if there's anyone coming from another part of this land, Turtle Island, honoring that as well. And also, I would like to extend a wave of appreciation for everyone here tonight. I'm really grateful for gathering every Wednesday, and I'm grateful to learn so much anatomy wisdom from Veronica and for this community in existence that has been established by posers and through Emily. And so thank you. Thank you for being here and being a part of it tonight. And gently press yourself up to a seat. And we'll meet with hands at heart center. If that feels authentic to you, this is the Anjali Mudra gesture, and it represents non-dualism. So the coming together of those intense yang moments and the calm, more lunar yin side of things, both being relative, working in harmony. And then bringing hands from heart center to third eye, strengthening connection between your heart and your mind. And bowing forward to seal in your practice, honoring the full self, full gamut of human experience, both the dark and the luminous aspects. Peace and thank you. All right, friends, thank you so much for being here today. I am going to go ahead and put my Venmo information in the chat box. Veronica and I split these classes. I'm also going to put in my email address, and Veronica is going to pop in hers as well. My email is also my PayPal. If you ever have questions, want to reach out, you are welcome to contact us that way. You can reach out on Instagram. You can hang out after class for questions or anything, but we really appreciate you being here today. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.